I'm going to explain how you add texture to your junk journal. Okay, this is my little box of texture supplies for my junk journaling and mixed media art creative endeavours. So I'm going to go through all of these things that I have and list a few other things that you can use for your junk journals and mixed media art. These are things that I've collated and collected over the years that I've found were very helpful in creating depth and interest in my art pieces. So this is just a tub. It doesn't matter about the brand obviously, but it's just a tub. It was effervescent vitamins. So you've got a lid, you've got the circle here which you can see is covered in paint. I've used that a few times just for dabbing or stamping onto the surface just to make interesting circle shapes. You can use the inside, you can use the lid, so there's lots of scope for this. You could even use it as some sort of roller for distributing paint or ink or something else. That's the first thing I have. What I have a lot of are these medicine holders, medicine packaging. So obviously from your over-the-counter things or any other stuff that you may have. I won't go into details here, but they start off very smooth and round, and that gives you an interesting texture, but also, as you can see here, you can squish them in and they give you a different texture. It's very similar to bubble wrap, but the beauty of these is they come in all different shapes. So you get these like oval ones, and let's see here, you get like smaller ones, you get ones that are round, so you can use either side of these. And again, it probably works better for paint, but you could probably also use it for something like these distress sprays and the distress oxide stamp pads, or any other stamp pad, you know. This just happens to be what I have, so that just gives you a lot of different shapes. We're just adding interest. It works especially well for mixed media, like I said, or if you have a junk journal that isn't really themed, and you're just looking to do it as a way to quiet your brain or to add a bit of interest and make it just like a random art journal, not even a junk journal. I don't know if there's any difference. If you think there's a difference, that's fine. I just like to create. I don't always have a theme in mind, so that's why I like a lot of these textures and layers. It just sort of adds interest without actually having a plan, if you like, and that's the nice thing about seeing how some of these things turn out when you don't actually have a plan. So I got this sort of packaging. It's like stretchy, and I think it was for like plates or glass or something, possibly like IKEA. So that can make a lot of different shapes depending on if like it's curled up or if it's flat out. You can use it in different ways. Dab it in the paint, as I say, or you can paint and then have this over here to sort of pat it away to then have like a embossed effect, or the opposite of embossed, just to have that sort of print shape. I've got these little scouring pads. Just reach over here. This is the one that I've actually used. As you can see, I'm not making this up. There's a bit of cardboard as well. We got onto that. So I think these were in B&M or something like that. I just thought they were an interesting texture, and they've been used to do a lot of mark making in my projects as well. So things like that. You could also use those like little dish sponges. They are usually quite cheap, and they come in sort of different textures as well. So since that's here, the corrugated cardboard is one of my favourite. It gives you a lot of scope. It starts off kind of 3D, and then the more you use it, it gets sort of flattened. But the good thing is, even after you've used it a few times, you can still get that texture from it. So it's a really interesting way to get lots of lines and a gritty sort of look if you're going for something that's weathered or like an outdoor industrial type of vibe. That's really good for that, and you can actually get this in a lot of different sizes. You can get a massive sheet, or you can rip it down to like a small thing depending on your project you're working on. Okay, we've got tubes now. So this was, I'm trying to think what this was from. I'm not sure. It's not a toilet roll tube, it's like sturdier than that, but I got it from something. It's a similar idea, it's a lot sturdier. It was possibly from like plastic wrap to wrap paintings or something like that, I don't know. But you can see it's, again, well used. I use it in a lot of mixed media especially, and you're getting that kind of circle effect. And the thing is, the more you use it, the more paint and things get trapped on it, and the more different and unique it ends up being the next time you use it. So these are sort of really interesting ways to make that kind of interest into your projects. I've actually got a lot more of these medicine things. Some of them are the same shape, but they're different layouts. So again, it's all about interest and layers, making things different. I have these as well. So this is actually just a lid off a pot, but it was actually broken, so I decided I was going to put that in my pack for if I wanted to make big circles. So a lot of these things are circular, and you think, what's the difference between a little circle and a big circle? But you can do so many different things by having like a big circle and then little circles inside, or having it overlapped, all different sizes, and it's just really nice to have that variation. So this was just the lid off of something else, and this is obviously very high, probably high value. I don't think I bought this, I got it from somewhere. They said it was broken, so I took it. And that's the beauty of this thing, is you can find these things anywhere. It could be a leaf or a stone or something that you've found outside, albeit you don't want to pick up too much stuff outside, but even a bit of junk mail that's really, it's an interesting shape or texture, or packaging. Packaging's really good for it because a lot of the time it has to be like bubble wrap. It's 3D and has that textured effect, as well as the corrugated cardboard and that interesting stretchy stuff. I don't know what you would call that, kind of like a honeycomb almost. I do have this Liquitex medium. This tub is actually done. It's got nothing in it apart from bits of dried medium. So technically, I mean, you could probably use that medium if you're looking for a really sort of 3D piece. But when the Liquitex is usable, you can use the modelling paste just to give a sort of raised surface onto the piece that you're working on, and then you can paint over it as well as mix it with other paint, so that gives you a really nice elevated 3D texture. Of course, we have sponges as well. They come in very different, lots of different shapes and sizes. And there are lots of different ways to use them, especially if you like rip pieces off, or if the pieces fall off, then it gives them an extra sort of interest to them, almost like sort of mossy or bark texture if you're using that colour of paint at the time. Okay. Trusty old bubble wrap, of course, the most famous texture tool. To get these, again, packaging materials are always really interesting. Things like stencils are good. I think this was cut out on my Cricut when I was doing a painting My handwriting's not very good, and my letter painting, I guess, is even worse, so I like to use stencils because it ties in with that graffiti look, that industrial, grunge, distressed feel. So I have a lot of stencils like this, so even if you're not looking to add a whole word in here, try not to say world, so even if you're not wanting to add the whole word in there, then you can just do a section of it and dab it with, again, like the stamps, or go over it with paint or pastel or something, just to have a bit of interest. So going back to the corrugated cardboard as well, you can have longer strips and any different size. There's also things like sellotape rolls. That is again a circle object, but it's more interesting, I think. Stencils, as I covered before, this is like a metal stencil, and this is just one I printed myself. Again, you don't need the actual full picture, but it's interesting to add a little bit of something different in there. If you can count the amount of times I've said interest in this video, I'll be very, very impressed. Last thing is just some lollipop sticks, so you can use these for scraping, mark making, or even dab painting. I hope you found this useful, and if you have any other suggestions, please leave them in the comments. I'd love to hear about them. I hope this was helpful, and stick around for the next video. I think you will love it. Bye for now.